What's going on, everybody? Big Dog Brett, welcome back to the channel. Thanks so much for tuning in. Today, we got a lot to talk about. Right now, having some issues with the with the camera, so bear with me on that. We're going to try and fix it. So, yeah, fun times. So, give me a second here. Too much light or something. Not sure what's going on. Let's try this. Maybe too much light over here. Let's turn that down just a smidgen. Man, it's getting a lot of funky colors here, guys. Oh, let's see if this helps. Maybe that helps a little bit. I don't know. What's going on, guys? Sorry about the color problems here. Not sure what the issue is. We'll continue to work on that through tonight. All right, let's go ahead and see what we got in the chat here. Fusion X, what's going on, sir? Between the Trenches, welcome back. One of our resident members, along with Dwayne RTR, also one of our members, and Michael Porter, another one of our members. I really appreciate you guys being in the show here. You can see my aura. It would be red. So, yeah. What's going on, guys? Tennessee fan. Oh, it's terrible. It's bugging me for real. I don't know what to do with it, guys. I don't know. Shift videos up for, I don't know what that is. It says it's supposed to be streaming in 720p. I'm not sure what's going on with the color on it. So I'm going to try and close the cap here and bring it back. Let's see what it does. All right, let's try it slowly. Maybe that helped a little bit. I don't know. I can't tell. We'll run it all the way from back here if we have to. Oh, what's going on, everybody? What is going on? All right, what's up, Salty Dog? How you doing, sir? So lots to talk about tonight. There's all kind of stuff going on. The biggest thing going on right now probably would be, what do you want to call it? That didn't make any difference at all. I don't know what's up with this color, man. It's terrible. I'm going to try shutting this off. Let's try that. Is that better? It seems better. I think it's better. I'm not sure. I don't know. I just work here. Pruitt. Golly. So Jeremy Pruitt, as you guys know, seems to have got himself into a situation where the university wanted to get rid of him. And that being the case, what are you going to do, man? I mean, the guy had a bad season, which happens to every coach from time to time. But it was a really bad season for Tennessee. Last year, it seemed like he did okay. But this year, it seemed like he struggled. And so the fans were kind of on board, and then they were not on board anymore. And apparently, no sports to watch. I've got some info about that I'm going to reveal later, Mr. Pate. So don't you worry. We'll get into that here in just a little bit. I guess what we're going to end up doing is basically we're going to switch over to do some baseball at some point. I'm not a baseball expert, but we've got some guys that do like to frequent the channel that are really good at it. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. Oh, here's the problem. I think I might have found it. Is that better? Yeah. So the Gus bus is not at Auburn, but we don't know where it's at. So it could be going anywhere. It might be going to Tennessee. Not sure, but it might. So yeah. Might be going to Tennessee. No, BLST, I do not live in Athens. Sometimes wish I did, but sometimes glad I don't, because I wouldn't be home very much. I'd be volunteering on a campus somewhere, helping out, doing something like cleaning up trash on the field or manicuring the lawn. Hopefully to Blacksburg. What are you talking about? Fire Justin Fuente? All right. So for those of you who don't know, Jeremy Pruitt obviously got fired. But there is some really interesting stuff that has come out after that. And I'm gonna read it to you real quick as soon as I can pull it back up. So Jeremy Pruitt releases a statement through his attorney. If you haven't read this, it is quite interesting. Pruitt's lawyer, Michael Lyons of Dallas-based Trail from Lyons and Simons, issued a statement on his behalf regarding Monday's events. Here's the complete statement. This afternoon, Coach Pruitt learned that Tennessee was terminating his employment for a cause. He is extremely disappointed with this decision, the public announcement of which was made prior to any substantive opportunity to respond before the appropriate decision makers. Basically, what that means is they fired him publicly, and they didn't even give him a chance to say anything about it. They didn't ask him nothing. So we believe this decision to be a culmination of an orchestrated effort to renege on contractual promises made to Coach Pruitt upon his hiring in 2017 and reiterated less than 5 months ago. So apparently there was a conversation that happened recently about his contractual obligations and what they were supposed to pay him, or the school's contractual obligations. The timing and the lawyer goes on to say, the timing of the university's actions and decisions appear to be preordained and more about financial convenience and expediency than a fair and complete factual determination by the university. Moreover, it seems clear the recent leaks to the press are indicative of an interest to steer the narrative in a way that is desirable to the university to justify a decision likely made weeks ago. Now, I thought that at some point when I read that, I was like, I don't know about that. That might be a reach. Next paragraph cleared it up, though. Coach Pruitt and I look forward to defending any allegations that he has engaged in any NCAA wrongdoings, as well as examining the university's intent to disparage and destroy Coach Pruitt's reputation in an effort to avoid paying his contractual liquidated damages. This is part of the same statement, despite the apparent outcome-oriented nature of the investigation and the absence of any reliable evidence suggesting any preventative failure by Coach Pruitt in the oversight of his program, Coach Pruitt and his family are thankful for and will always cherish their time at the university, in addition to having made lifelong friends in Knoxville. Coach Pruitt is most thankful to the young men. Now, there's a part here that I can't find. I don't think this is the entire statement. Oh no, I did skip a paragraph. My mistake. While the limited portions of the university's self-initiated investigation shared with Coach Pruitt provide some evidence of violations committed by off-field staff, Chancellor Donde Plowman, I guess that's how you say that name, personally confirmed during an in-person meeting with Coach Pruitt this morning that, number one, the university's investigation had yet to be completed, and number two, the chancellor had not yet read Coach Pruitt's NCAA interview transcript, and number three, there was no evidence that Coach Pruitt was either actively involved in any alleged violations or knew they were occurring. She further commented, this is the chancellor further commented to Coach Pruitt that no employment decision had been made. Less than 3 hours later, however, Coach Pruitt was emailed a 5-page single-space letter of termination, and the contents of which were immediately leaked to the public. Oh, my God. Oh, my goodness. I do think it's messed up. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not a big fan of Jeremy Pruitt, but don't get me wrong. I'm not about to sit here and tell you that Jeremy Pruitt, I'm not trying to say his hands are clean. What I am trying to say, though, is that it is absolutely unacceptable for a chancellor to tell Jeremy Pruitt, hey, by the way, no hiring or firing decisions have been made. And then 3 hours later, you're out the door. Hey, where's Celine Driver at? Hashtag hire Pruitt. Let's see. What's going on, Travis Goff? Let's see. What's going on, Dennis Wilson? Dennis Wilson says, Big dog, I bout you a Big Mac and fries in the bag, but don't let anyone know about it. I know what you mean, sir. I need to visit the University of Tennessee and go get my Happy Meal. Apparently, there are also allegations that, and multiple allegations from supposedly reputable sources, we'll see how that turns out, that they were handing these kids Happy Meals or McDonald's bags full of cash. I need, you know, them guys was walking around singing that McDonald's theme song. Do 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 do. How you gonna buy players and still lose that bad? I mean, good night. At least when Ole Miss did it, man. What's going on, Brad Pitt? I don't think Pruitt knowingly did anything wrong. I just think he doesn't know what he's doing. There may be some truth to that. I'm all for getting rid of bad coaches that are getting that are getting caught cheating. You don't need those guys. But it's like they said in the Hateful Eight. You only need to hang mean you know what. But mean you know what you need to hang. So, I mean, it's just what it is, man. By the way, guys, I haven't had a cherry vanilla Coke. If I can get this thing to focus, probably can't. Whatever. Take my word for it. Cherry vanilla Coke. I haven't had a cherry vanilla Coke since I was going to watch high school football games when I was in high school. Because you could go get a cherry vanilla Sprite and a cherry vanilla Coke from the Dairy Queen that was within walking distance to the stadium. And it was dynamite. But, yeah. Let's see. Yeah, you had to figure out. You had to figure out something was up when they hired Kevin Steele. Man, forget the toy and the Happy Meal. All right, guys. Well, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go ahead and throw the invite down here. If you guys want to join the show, feel free. Jerry Pruitt. Why is my lighting so bad? Like, I moved some stuff around. I'm not sure what has caused this, but it is absolutely driving me nuts. Vaccinate Megan Mullen. All right, guys, I'm gonna try something here real quick. I'm gonna drop the cover down so you don't have to stare at my stomach. So give me just a second here. I'm gonna move some light, see if I can fix this lighting problem, because this Hulk mode, not digging it. So give me 1 second. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. I'm still here. You just can't see me. Kind of like the voices in my head. They're still here. I just can't see them. Never mind that. I just maimed a small animal there. Okay, maybe that might have been a larger animal than I thought, but okay. Jeez. What's going on right here? All right, that'll work there. I think it has to do really with the location of the lighting and the type of lighting versus the location of the camera. That's why it's giving such a funny color. Let's see if this fixes it. I think that may have helped it a little bit. I still look awful green, though. Jeez, why is that like that? I don't know. That's just weird. All right, I got an idea. One more time. I'm going to try one more thing. So, it's one of the benefits of being one of those, what do they call them, a starving artist? Well, I'm a starving YouTuber. Let's see if this helps. Hopefully, this helps. Okay. All right, here we go. All right, much better. Much better. Not perfect, but still freaking green. Oh my goodness. Driving me nuts here, guys. It's just so weird, man. It's like I look at the camera to talk to you guys and I have to look at the screen and fix the color, and I don't know. I don't know anymore. I just don't know. Whoo. Yep, yellow. Is it still yellow? Let me see. I know a way to fix it, but I don't know what it might do in the meantime. Let's see what happens. I might lose the camera here, so just bear with me. Still trying to fix this thing. I've never had this problem before with this camera, so it's weird. It's that new filter called the sun. Yeah, maybe. Let's see. Did I lose you guys? Hopefully I didn't lose you. No, I didn't lose you. Okay. So I know that there's a way.
Shut up.
Whoop. We don't want to do that. Video capture device, properties. Let me see if I can configure video. Maybe this will allow me to. All right. So now we're getting somewhere. Okay. Whoa. Yeah, it's a little too red. A little too red. I think that might be a little bit better. Still green. What do we got? I think we're getting close finally. Might actually look like a human being for a change. Yeah. Welcome to the most professional show on YouTube where we do all of our camera adjustments in the middle of a stream. Yeah. It's great. Whoa. That is not what I was looking for. Let's bring the brightness down just a smidge. I think we can live with that. That's not perfect, but you know, what can you do? It's going to go really crazy now. Yeah, there, I knew that was going to happen. Okay. Bring this back up. Easy breezy, beautiful. Almost. You know what they say? It ain't necessarily how pretty she is, it's how good she is at her makeup. If you don't believe me, go watch some of those Asian chicks do their stuff, man. Man, those girls can do some wild stuff with makeup, man. All right, so we look reasonable again. Just so you guys know, one of the reasons this thing gets so sideways is because during the course of the day, if I make a video during the course of the day, I get a lot of light from over here. There's a door over here with a window in it. It sends in a lot of light. So then in the afternoons or the evenings, whenever I go to make a video or do a live stream, I have to like adjust all the lighting. Normally I have enough time to get it fixed before the show starts, but today's been a long day. So yeah. All right. Let's see what else we got. So who knows what's going to happen with Jeremy Pruitt? You may end up seeing that the university kind of caves and they come to an understanding of where they give him some money. They might give him, $8 million or whatever. And honestly, if I was Jeremy Pruitt and they wanted to give me just $8 million just to let it all go, that'd probably be the route I would take. But yeah. What's up, Andrew K? What's up, Doug Kennedy? Sir, how are you? Let's see. Sir Man says, think 2021 Bulldogs can be the 2019 LSU and 2020 Alabama, all their players returning, and JT Daniels, Monken, and a full year with a potent offense. Yes, absolutely. I also appreciate Trenches letting me know that I forgot to change the banner at the bottom. So the UGA is returning a ton of players. A lot of those guys are going to be real problems for other teams. Zamir White coming back is huge. What's going on, Sean Stapleton? What's up, Anthony Jolly? What's up, Andrew K? Hey, we remember the breakfast you made. I need to do that again. I haven't done it in a while. The UGA offense coming back next year is absolutely stacked. Did you know Clemson plays UGA in September 4th? Yes, sir. I've already looked at next year's schedule. That's one of 4 games that's actively scheduled. The rest are not scheduled yet. So we'll see how that turns out. Georgia beat a very good Cincinnati with a lot of seniors on that team. Cincinnati had a top-ranked defense. They did. What's going on, Keith? Welcome to the show, sir. Glad to have you back here. I was just about to post this anyway, so I'll go ahead and post it now. Do you think we're getting – who do you think we're getting for a secondary coach? I have no idea. I haven't even started looking yet, sir. It's so hard to figure that stuff out right now. But I can assure you, whoever UAG. I saw UAB down here and tried to say UGA, and it come out UAG. What's up, Alex MLD? Well, he's one of our resident members. We appreciate him. What's up, Crimson and White 17? We have a ton of players coming back. The Georgia team is going to be one of the most elite in the country. And while I have been saying every year for probably the past 4 years that, this year is going to look really good for Georgia, this particular upcoming year is going to be even more interesting because not only is Georgia going to be elite, a lot of the other teams that were really, really good this year are losing everything. When I say losing everything, they're losing quite a bit. So, yeah. What's going on, Mr. Keith?
What's up, man? Back up away from that.
What's that?
So let me back up away from my camera a little bit here.
Yes, sir. Well, here I can fix that.
There we go.
There, is that better?
I got headbutt my monitor. Fancy cameras you got, man.
What's that? Yeah. What? One more time.
So I gotta get me one of them fancy cameras you got.
I had some problems with this one, man. Trying to get the color balanced out a while ago. It was about to drive me nuts. I moved some lights around and stuff, and the camera was not digging it. So Samuel Pate asked a question here: can UAB beat UGA 20-17 like South Carolina? If UGA has that bad of a game, anybody in the country could beat us, except Vanderbilt.
Can you still hear me okay?
What's that?
Can you still hear me okay?
Oh, I hear you perfect.
Okay. I had to change mics. It was using my webcam mic and not my mic.
Yeah, mine's been doing that too, especially on StreamYard. Somebody asked a question up here. I was going to see if you had an answer to it. Who do you think we're getting for a secondary coach? I have no idea.
I'm not sure.
I don't know. I'm just hoping that I'm hoping we don't hire Jeremy Pruitt back.
I don't know if he's going to be able to get anything as high as a secondary coach.
Well,
we already
they're saying.
Mess yet?
What's that?
Have you already talked about the Tennessee mess yet?
Oh, it started in on it.
Yeah. I don't know. An interesting angle. I don't know if you've mentioned this yet, but it kind of come to my attention yesterday. It's been, I guess, maybe about 3 days ago now, that big Cat Bryant transfer from Auburn to Tennessee.
Yeah.
That's a kid that went to Crisp, when my wife was teaching there. And one of the reasons that he left to go to Tennessee was Shelton Felton was a defensive backs coach at Tennessee. He was Big Cat's coach at Crisp
County, right?
Felton is part of the firings. He got fired.
Oh.
That's part of the Pruitt firing. So literally 2 days after Big Cat enters transfer portal and commits to Tennessee and puts out a statement to Tennessee or to Auburn fans, saying, thank you for my time. I'm going to go to Tennessee to, play for my high school coach and a man that I admire, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
Shelton Felton gets fired from Tennessee. Makes you wonder what's happening, what's going to happen to Big Cat Bryant at this point. And I don't know if he signed anything or where that leaves him, but it's just kind of an interesting angle to that mess. I know, by the way, that same Chris County team that Big Cat was from was also the home of Quay Walker. They were on the same team together.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
So
I'm trying to look up Big Cat right now. I know that he committed.
Yeah,
to Tennessee.
Anything.
Let me see. I'm gonna see if I'm gonna put signs to Tennessee instead of commit and see if that pulls up anything, because that would tell me more. He just said announced his plans to transfer. I don't know if he's actually signed anything.
Yeah, I don't think so, because this happened really quickly.
Yeah,
after he announced, so hopefully he'll be able to. I don't know if he's still going to plan, still plans to go to Tennessee, or I would imagine not at this point. I don't know if this is a kid. I think Georgia did have interest in him to start with. I don't know if there's a possibility of him coming to UGA at all, but like I said, he's former high school teammates with Quay Walker, so.
Well, I mean, if anybody that's watched Big Cat play, I mean, honestly, the guy pancakes people all the time. I mean, he's a very aggressive player, which is great for being a lineman. I actually messaged on Twitter, that I hated to see him go to Tennessee, especially when the opportunity. I am almost certain that if he wanted to come play at Georgia, they would let him. Almost certain of it. He's proven himself in the SEC. I won't say super top tier school, but certainly a higher echelon school than the SEC. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, I ain't a big fan of Auburn, but they're miles ahead of Arkansas and Mississippi State. So, I mean, I would gladly take that guy.
Yeah.
So, did you get a chance to read the lawyer statement that they put out for Jeremy Pruitt?
No, I haven't. I'm actually not really up to speed on everything, like the official announcements that came out. I hadn't really read up on that very much.
I'm gonna read the one paragraph here. His lawyer put out a statement, but I'm just gonna read the one paragraph. I'm gonna read it again for those of you who are just now in the stream. I read it earlier, but instead of reading the whole thing, I'm just gonna read this one statement to let you know why I think that he was getting hammered. Somebody who's Clemson at UGA right here? Who is this? Hold on. Add him to the stream. I guess I went to add him to the stream and it said disconnected. Anyway, I think Pruitt got railroaded by Tennessee. And after I read this, I want you to tell me if you agree. This is his lawyer's statement to the University of Tennessee. While the limited portions of the university's self-initiated investigation shared with Coach Pruitt provided some evidence of violations committed by off-field staff, Chancellor Donde Plowman personally confirmed during an in-person meeting with Coach Pruitt this morning that 1, the university's investigation had yet to be completed. 2, the Chancellor had not yet read Coach Pruitt's NCAA interview transcript. 3, there was no evidence that Coach Pruitt was either actively involved or in any alleged violations or knew they were occurring. She further commented to Coach Pruitt that no employment decision had been made. Less than 3 hours later, however, Coach Pruitt was emailed a 5-page single-space letter of termination, and the contents of which were immediately leaked to the public.
Yeah.
If you're going to sit there and tell a coach no firing decisions have been made, and you tell him that to his face, and then just a few hours later, you send him a 5-page, it would take you longer than a few hours to type up an accurate termination letter. I mean, not only that, man, I'm just like,
I mean, this guy knew that his days were numbered in Tennessee. I mean, we all knew that this was happening. It was like the worst kept secret in college football.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty obvious that there was going to be some repercussions. Everybody was talking about it.
Well, I mean, Tennessee was doing this internal investigation to get out of paying his buyout.
Absolutely. I mean, and that's one of the things that the lawyer brings up is that he's like, if we're going to the reason you fired this guy was not because of his record, or the violations. The reason you fired this guy is because you didn't want to pay the money. I mean, that's what he basically says. And I'm like, and when you go back and you read that one paragraph I just read, I mean, it's kind of like, that's exactly why they fired him. There's another one in here that says, moreover, it seems clear that the recent leaks to the press are indicative of an interest to steer the narrative in a way that is desirable to the university to justify a decision that was likely made weeks ago. So what's going to happen is, now that they're suing the university, they're going to have what's called discovery, and then they're going to go in and get all these emails, and whenever they can show in those emails that those conversations had behind the scenes, they're going to be able to say that the University of Tennessee had ulterior motives, rather than to give him an opportunity to justify his position with this before there was the show cause order. Because it is possible, it's technically possible at this point that he could be cleared of those allegations. Doesn't mean he's going to be, but he could be. But basically, since they fired him in a time frame when he could have been, they're still going to end up having to pay him some money.
Yeah.
Let's see. Anthony Jolly says, do you think Alabama's offense will take a decline in points with Bill Teapot O'Brien as offensive coordinator? I think that even if they kept the same offensive coordinator, they would still take a decline in points, because this is one of the greatest offensive teams they've ever had. So the question, too much. Yeah, he's losing too much. Now, how much are they going to take? How big of a dip are they going to take? I don't know. I really don't. But what I will tell you is it's probably going to be, I would say, a 7 to 10 point at least drop per game average. That would be my guess.
Yeah,
because you're talking.
You just can't lose that much talent and keep up. I mean, I know Alabama reloads every year instead of rebuilds. So I mean, they'll still have it going on. But no, I can't imagine that there's not going to be some significant fall off after. I mean, they're just losing too much talent.
Right. So here's another interesting question. Sean Stapleton says, "Will it be LSU bad?" Absolutely not.
No.
Here's why I say that. I honestly believe that you could take every on-field coach off that field, give the football to Bryce Young, and be like, just go out there and play backyard ball. And there's so much talent with those guys on that team. I believe they would still win more games than LSU did. I still believe that.
LSU a couple of years ago with Joe Burrows, they had a perfect storm, in my opinion. I mean, Joe Burrows had one of the greatest years, if not the greatest year, of a quarterback in college football history. And then you paired him with Joe Brady, who is just lights out. I mean, you look at how fast that dude is on a meteoric rise. I mean, it's 2 years ago, he's an offensive coordinator for LSU. And then this week, I think the Falcons interviewed him for a head coaching job in the NFL. I mean,
yep.
This guy, I mean, so you put those two guys together with a little bit of extra talent. I mean, LSU was kind of an outlier. So, but Alabama, I mean, they're not going to fall off like LSU. I mean, they have too much talent. They have the talent. I mean, Alabama has talent for for 2022 already on the bench, ready to go. I mean,
right.
They're not. There's not going to be a huge fall off. Alabama's going to be right there. They're going to be scoring 30 and 40 points a game.
Yeah, and they're still gonna have a great football team. I think their defense is probably gonna have to be a little better this year if they want to stay in contention. But yeah, they're not gonna be quite as good as they were.
It's gonna be interesting because you look at Georgia. You look at what Georgia's doing. Georgia's not the only one. You look at all these teams. Look at what Ole Miss is doing. You're seeing this change in the SEC from being the big bad defenses to explosive offenses.
Right.
And it's like, now there's going to be another kind of a power struggle. Alabama was kind of the first one to kind of make that switch, but now you're seeing other teams starting to do that too. So it's going to be interesting to see like what kind of effort Alabama's going to actually put into the defenses to stop the up and coming offenses like Georgia's having, like the Ole Misses, like all these other teams are having. It's going to be a different engagement between these teams.
Right.
Where we used to see just big, strong defenses. Now it's going to be like, okay, everybody's got a good offense. Now now it's kind of back to playing defense. Who can stop the other team's offense?
That's
At least one or two times. Yeah.
So what's going on, Samuel Pate? What's going on, buddy?
What up, Brett?
What's up, my man?
Oh, just nothing. Just bored. I decided to come in the show.
Right on. We're glad to have you here. Real quick, though, Paul Rosenberg, hats off to you, sir. Thank you for your service. Paul is he is a Marine who is no longer active duty, because you can't call them ex-Marines because those don't exist. But Paul is a Marine who's no longer active duty. So he says, let's talk basketball. I would imagine the reason he wants to talk basketball is because the Iowa Hawkeyes, which is his favorite team, is ranked number 4 in the country at 12-2. So, sir, I'm happy to talk basketball, but I'll be honest with you, I am sorely ill prepared for that adventure. I don't know much about college basketball.
I watch a bunch of college basketball.
Yeah, you do. So, this coming up pretty soon here, we're going to start talking about baseball. I can't get into basketball like I used to, man. You've got Gonzaga at number 1, Baylor at number 2, Villanova at 3, Iowa 4, Texas 5, Tennessee 6, Michigan 7, Houston 8, Kansas Jayhawks 9, and the Wisconsin Badgers at number 10. And the coaches poll and the AP poll are identical, so that doesn't really matter.
It's not Michigan. It's actually Michigan.
Oh, Michigan, huh?
Yep.
I didn't know that. I appreciate the education. See, I told you I didn't know anything. Tennessee just got upset by Florida, too. Yeah, that was on, like, the front page. It was like – so I don't know how much Keith has been watching, but I saw this on the front page. What do you think the score is, or the score ended up being for the Tennessee-Florida basketball game?
Basketball? I have no idea, dude.
Tennessee was ranked number 6. Florida was unranked.
I was thinking that Tennessee would have won like 65 to like 55.
The Florida Tennessee game, the score was 75-49.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's a spanking.
That is a bludgeoning. That's some more Florida tryhards right there, man. Trying so hard to be relevant. Man, I don't know enough about basketball to really get into it, man. So, what do you think about the UGA versus Clemson game coming up, my man?
I am so excited for that game. I will be waiting for 9 more months.
So, I take it you're a Clemson fan.
Kinda, yeah. I have a Clemson helmet, but
Well, you can fix that problem. The trash runs once a week.
Yeah.
So, the Georgia Clemson game. What's your thoughts? How do you think that game is going to go? Do you prefer Sam or Samuel, or what do you prefer?
I will say that I don't even know who will win the game, actually, because people say Georgia because Georgia's there in the SEC, and we all know that Clemson's a really good team and stuff. It's a hard decision for me.
All right, well, what do you think there, Mr. CKC?
I think I really think Clemson. I've kind of thought about this a little bit. I think Clemson is going to actually come to this game as a favorite. For a while there, I thought Georgia may come in as a favorite, but I think Georgia's going to be an underdog even in this game. Very close. I think I definitely think the line's probably going to be 3 points going into this game. This is a huge game for Georgia. This kind of sets the tone for how our season's going to go. Because if you look at our schedule, I don't have it right in front of me, but I looked at it. We beat Clemson, and this is very possibly an undefeated season for Georgia.
Yep.
You got the Florida hurdle, but out of the West we got Arkansas, I think, or Mississippi State. I can't remember, but there's no big opponents out of the West other than Auburn. I don't think Auburn's that big of a deal. So we get over this Clemson hurdle, and man, it's really downhill from there. You know, we kind of start off right at the peak, and we just got to crest it, and and then finish strong. I mean, I like Georgia in the game just for what we have coming back and who Clemson's losing. So,
Yep. So, Paul, to answer your question, yes, they wrestle in the South. I was actually wrestled in high school, so it's been around. It's been around for quite a while there. To get into the Clemson versus UGA for the season opener, I actually would prefer for Georgia to be the underdog here. I want that mentality going into that game that Georgia's going to have to fight. I want Georgia to feel disrespected. I want those players to go out there and play with a super nasty chip on their shoulder. I want it to be physical football. I think that this is like the first season in I don't know, probably 6 or 7 seasons where I've had confidence in the quarterback, right?
Yeah.
I feel like JT Daniels can absolutely carry a team to a win, and he proved that in the Georgia game, right? I mean, in the Cincinnati game. The Cincinnati game was proof positive that Georgia could absolutely rally from behind with JT Daniels at the helm. And the only other quarterback that had done that all season was Stetson Bennett. We knew what that would give us. So I'm happy seeing JT Daniels. We had games where we saw that the running backs would absolutely, they could be put to use. That Tom Monken knew how to use the running backs. So I think when you have a culmination of all of this talent coming back between the running backs, between the wide receivers, between JT Daniels, plus we're going to have some additional experience on the offensive and defensive line, this could be a really nasty year for Georgia. This could be an undefeated Georgia team that wins the national championship. It absolutely could happen. So,
what's up?
What's going on, Ballard?
Not much. I would fully agree with you, though. I mean, and I'm not even. I know I keep saying it, but I'm dead serious, man. I think Georgia's been right there on the edge of a cliff, or whatever you want to call it, to just fall down and win a natty and fall into college football glory or whatever you want to call it, and just they've been right there. And I think this will be probably Kirby's best team upcoming in 2021.
Yep.
I think especially with Daniels coming back, and I mean Brock Vandergrift, this highly recruited 5-star to compete. I think it's still one of those things like you still got to compete for the job. You still got to win it in the offseason and everything. And you bring quite a bit back on defense. You lost quite a bit, but I mean, you guys stopped the #1 recruiting class, and that's mainly because of all the defensive signees. And I mean, it's just there's too much talent that Georgia has to really sit there and say that they don't have a shot.
Oh, I agree. And looking at the not just Georgia coming back with as much as they're coming back with, a lot of the other teams that would have been real contenders against Georgia are losing a lot of key ingredients. Yes. And that includes Florida, that includes Alabama, that includes Clemson, that includes Ohio State. I mean, all of the normal names that you see as big front runners are losing key playmakers at key positions and are having to fill those slots with relatively untested talent.
Yeah.
Georgia's filling all those same roles with proven talent. And so to me, Georgia could steamroll through a lot of this. Now, if that happens, I don't know if you guys saw the stat in the video I put out, but Kirby Smart is one of 3 coaches, and that's Dabo, Kirby Smart, and Nick Saban, that have 50 wins. And this is since Kirby Smart's been hired, that have 50 wins, a division championship, and a national playoff appearance. There's only 3 coaches that meet those requirements, and it's Dabo, Saban, and Smart. To me, that tells you the caliber of coach. If Georgia goes out right now and wins a national championship, not only will it be great for the fans to finally have a natty, right? But it will be absolutely incredible for recruiting.
Oh yeah,
because
for
now
sure. I mean, because you look at all the recruits, they want to go to a program like that.
Oh yeah. So whenever you've got a recruiter, you got a coach right now that's saying, look, I win national championships. I beat Clemson at the beginning of the year. Most likely you're going to play Alabama in the SEC championship. Beat Clemson early, beat Alabama, and whoever's left, right? So it's likely you're going to have to play one of those 2 teams again. So that being the case, I mean, it's absolutely possible that Kirby Smart could go, we went undefeated, we won a national championship, and we beat Alabama twice or we beat Clemson twice in the same year. I mean, you want to talk
and
about
I would
in your
say,
hat.
yeah,
You know?
I was going to bring this up real quick, and I can't even believe we're talking about this, but a team that I'm hearing and that I also like this team next year, but a lot of people are high. I can't even believe this. Oklahoma next year is going to be great. And I'm only like shaking my head at this because the Big 12 this year and how it started out and everything. And I mean, it was a turnaround for Spencer Rattler and Lincoln Riley, but it was a really tough start, and it looked like it was just going to be one of those years where they just crapped the bed altogether. And now we're sitting here and saying, okay, well, here's your preseason favorites, even though it's still it's still pretty early. But okay, you of course have Bama and Clemson, but look out for Georgia, look out for Oklahoma, who, by the way, has not won a playoff game, has not even made it to the championship. And how many times have they made it in? Quite a few. I mean,
four or five.
Yeah, something like that. But
Yeah.
I mean, don't sleep on Oklahoma either. Man.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
I'm not sleeping on Oklahoma, but what I have to do is I have to compare, what's coming back versus what's staying, what's leaving. And when I look at a Georgia offense with a quarterback like JT Daniels that I know can throw for 400 yards, threw for over 400 in one game and was like 3 or 4 yards away from in a couple of games from throwing for 400 in those games. I mean, that I know the kind of talent at the quarterback position. I don't see a quarterback in all of college football, and at least in my opinion, that can match JT Daniels next year. I don't see one.
Yeah.
So to me, that's one of the things I'm looking at. I'm confident that Georgia's defense will be better. I feel like that this upcoming team will be better than Georgia's 2017 team that went to the national championship.
Yeah, I think this is the roster wise. I think this is one of the best teams that UGA's had in 10 years. Maybe. Yeah, if not more than that. Maybe back to the Aaron Murray days, or no Sean Marino days.
Sean Marino.
That those teams were pretty stacked. But I mean, when you look at JT Daniels, we're gonna have Jermaine Burton back. We're gonna have Pickens in a junior year. I mean, there's just weapons all over the field. Zeus is coming back. Kendall Milton, I think, is going to be getting the rock a lot. Offensively, this team is just stacked.
Pickens, the receiver, watch out for him always. I don't care if you got other guys that you think are better.
Yeah, and you got James Cook all of a sudden. All of a sudden being used now that we got a quarterback that can get the ball to the open guy. You got James Cook coming out of the slot, man, and out of the backfield is just a check down weapon that you can get him. I mean, you can get him the ball at the line of scrimmage, and he's a couple of cuts away from standing in the end zone.
So let me bring up something here real quick, and I want to see if you agree with me. When I watched the Cincinnati game, I did not feel watching JT Daniels like he had his best game. He seemed a little off in that game. He really did, compared to what I've seen him play before. And I'm not saying like he's rushed or he makes a bad throw. I'm talking about like he overthrew some players that he really shouldn't have overthrown, or he threw some at shoestrings that he really shouldn't have thrown short. And I was like, man, we're struggling in this game. I feel like JT is struggling a little bit. And you get to the end and you're like, damn, actually he statistically had a really good game.
Yeah.
Well, you look at that game, that was one of those games where he was holding on to the ball a little too long too. And, and you could tell, I don't know if it was like halftime, but you could tell there was a drastic change when he went back out for one series. He started throwing the ball away.
Yep.
And that helped a lot when he started actually, going through his progressions and getting rid of the ball. Whether it was throw it away or do whatever. But he held on to the ball and took a couple of unneeded sacks early on. So I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not real sure what his full season at USC was like, but I mean, this is potentially the biggest game he's played in his college career, right? I mean, he's in a bowl game.
Absolutely.
I mean, even though it was, it was a New Year's Six bowl game. So, I mean, possibly a little bit of nerves there. I mean, I know the guy conducts himself very well, but I mean, it's a huge game.
Absolutely, it was a huge game.
A lot's right. I mean, we as Georgia fans have put a lot on this guy's shoulders by the time that game kicked off. It was. I mean, we've kind of put a Superman cape on this guy's back. So we have to be careful about that and what our expectations are.
So Paul says, how do you feel about an expansion to the 8 to the playoff?
Love it, as long as it comes up with a metric to do it. That's the whole point, right? It's not really the number of teams; it's an inarguable metric that we need. That's the point. If you have an 18 playoff, 5 of those have to be the conference champions, right? The Power 5 conference champions.
Then you'd have an independent, and then you would have that gives you 6, and then you have 2 wild cards. Whatever you want those to be, whether it's a runner up from the SEC or whether it's a team from like the Sun Belt, like the Bearcats or something like that. I mean, there's absolutely room for an 18 playoff.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, what I've always said is the 5 power conference champions get an automatic bid. The highest ranked group of 5, I know they don't like getting called that, but the highest ranked group of 5 in the poll, whatever poll you want to use, gets an automatic bid, and then the next 2 highest Power 5 non-conference champion teams get in.
Hey, Brett.
I don't. What's going on? What's going on, Sam?
2 things about the Cincinnati game. One, if y'all lost to Cincinnati, it couldn't have been terrible. You know how Auburn lost to UCF?
Yeah.
Yeah, I see what you're saying there, but I also believe that the reason that I'll take you back to the Georgia-Texas game. A lot of Georgia players checked out of that game. If you watch Georgia play that game, they really didn't look like they cared. And Texas did. Texas came out there and wiped their cleats off on us. And I think that was a turning point for Kirby Smart. I think that was a moment when Kirby Smart said, I never want to experience this embarrassment again. And that's why right now UGA has the record for the longest active bowl streak. So to me, I think that can be a trap to play in. We had some players opt out, but I feel like Kirby Smart did a really good job of getting a lot of those senior talented guys that were going to go pro to get back in there and play that final bowl game for the other players on the team and for the university. So, yeah, I get what you're saying.
All right. And the other thing is that, remember the fake punt? Remember that one punt that Georgia did?
Are you referring to the one with Justin Fields?
I don't even know what his name was, but he punted it. Well, it was during like the first or second quarter in the Georgia Cincinnati game. He punted the ball. It was like a 3-yard punt.
Yeah.
I must have been getting a drink or something.
Yeah, Camarda kicked the punt. Kicked the punt that literally went. I don't know. It went like 3 or 4 yards past the line of scrimmage out of bounds. He shanked it. Yeah.
Now that has actually happened with Camarda before.
Yeah.
He has shanked some punts in the past. He's one of those guys that he can kick like a 70-yard punt, I swear. But there's times whenever he tries so hard that he shanks it. And
the shanks are the only reason that he averages like 50 yards a punt.
Yeah.
If he didn't shank any punt, he'd probably be averaging about 65 yards a punt.
Yeah.
But those 3 and 15 and 10-yard punts every now and then kind of bring the average out a little bit.
So somebody asked me, somebody says, I wish they would extend it to 8 teams, the playoffs. You know what I wish they would do? I wish they would play it like March Madness. Put everybody in a bracket. Screw it. Let's play. Screw it. Let's play. There'd be a lot of people watching football if that happened, man. My goodness.
College game day is going to go to North Carolina. Well, no, that's where the game's going to be played. North Carolina, Charlotte, Clemson versus Georgia.
Yeah. That's on a neutral site in Charlotte. It's a neutral site in Charlotte.
Panthers game, the Panther Stadium.
It's an interesting dilemma though with expanding the playoffs because when you look at the money involved, you're talking about, and if you gave all of these playoff games bowl sponsorships, which they probably would, then you're having. I mean, you already have 2 teams playing in 2 bowl games. Mm-hmm. Or not really 2 bowl games. You have a bowl game and then the college football national championship game, which they still get money from. So what happens when you go to, let's say a team, runs the table in an 8-team playoff. You're going to go from round 1 with 8 teams, round 2 with 4 teams, then 2 teams. So you're having a team that is potentially going to play 3 playoff games when they're crowned the national champion. So that team, not only do they win the national championship, they're going to make a ton of money. You know what I mean? With their stuff all over it. So I mean, it's kind of keeping the top heavy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing is that
My thing is about to connect out.
All right, man.
I'll run back in. Just give me a sec.
Okay.
All
So
right.
one of the things about having an expansion is that, obviously we got to get past I think it's the 2022 season whenever the contracts are up, and then they'll renegotiate. I think everybody wants to see an 8-game playoff. They may go to just 6 though.
Yeah.
With having bye weeks.
Bye weeks for the top 2 ranked teams.
Yeah. And I'd be okay with that. I think 6 is fair. I think that really prevents everybody from having to play, too many games. And that's almost a hard thing to say when it comes to football, is to have too many games.
Yeah. It's just, it's like, in my opinion, it's not really about the number of teams. It's about erasing the argument, right? Erasing the argument for who should be one of those 6 teams.
Well, I mean, I can't tell you, and I know me and you have had this conversation previously. What's going on, Trenches?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
We've had one of those conversations before about, especially in the BCX, the BCS Bowl. That was really, they picked a national championship based on opinion.
Yeah.
And that used to absolutely drive me nuts, because there were many years where Georgia could have made the argument that they should have been in a national championship and get hosed out of it. And it just would infuriate me. I was so sick and tired of the BCS. Everybody's like, we need to bring the BCS back because of the bowl games. Screw the bowl games. I want it to be fair. So yeah, that's how I feel. What's going on, Alex MLD? I appreciate the super chat, sir. He says, will Auburn be good with new coaches? Not the ones they got. You got Derek Mason as a defensive coordinator. What are you doing, sir?
The question I have, go ahead, I'm sorry.
You got Mike Bobo as an offensive coordinator. You're going to be okay, but you ain't going to be good. There's so much work to be had there in that aspect. You were saying, Keith? No,
I was just saying, if you're going to have a playoff system where you don't look at some type of metric as far as winning conference championships or anything like that, how many teams do you need to make it? Because there's how far down the ranking system does it generally go before you end the argument about who are the top 2? Because that's essentially what you want, right? You want to make sure that you at least have 3 or 4 of the top teams in the playoffs that nobody can argue about, right?
Right.
Because one of those, generally in a season, one of the top 4 or 5 ranked teams is going to win the national championship, generally speaking. So how far down in a voting system would you need to make a playoff to ensure that you included anyone that could potentially run the table and beat one of these teams? If you're just going to have voting.
Well, I think that the conferences for the most part already have a quasi playoff system in them. That's how you get to a division championship. I think that those games theoretically could count as a playoff game. Like you said, take your Power 5, and those are your first 5 playoff games. Now, that doesn't automatically dictate that just because you win your division championship that you are going to go into the national championship or the next step. I think that if you can lose that game and still go, I think that's something that needs to be considered.
Yeah. I'm kind of with you, Trenches. I think 8. 8, no matter which way you go, I think is.
Well, I mean, if you did 8 for last year, would there be any team without a doubt that shouldn't have been in there?
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, going anything past 8, if you go to 10, 11's not going to be happy. 8's got to be, to me, the stop.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So the argument really is that you want to make sure, because you want to make sure that the top 3 to 4 teams are included, and there's some ambiguity there. Me and you may not agree on who number 4 and number 5 is. We may swap them. And, there's still going to be that argument between 8 and 9, 9 not getting in and 8 getting in. But when you get down to 8 and 9, are one of those teams really going to win the national championship anyways?
They're not, but you got
Probably
teams
not.
like Cincinnati, I think,
Yeah.
could have beat Notre Dame in a playoff
Yeah,
game.
they possibly could have. And I think in a system where there's 8 or 9 teams, though, and you still have a playoff committee voting on it, Cincinnati gets in.
They do get in, and it
They
shows
get in.
that, hey, you going undefeated actually mattered.
Yeah. And this year, if there would have been an 18 playoff or an 18 playoff bracket with everything else remaining the same, and those committee members would have went in there, Cincinnati would have been in that top 8. They just didn't have the brass to put them in the top 4. But if you had an 18, that would give them the leeway to scoot some of those teams in and let them shoot it out. And so I think no matter what metric you go with, I think 8 is the cutoff, because I think you could come up with a system that included conference champions, or if you didn't want to go that way and you just wanted to be a voting system, you could. I don't think anybody would argue that say, hey, number 9 should have been included because they could probably run the table. So not really, probably not.
Right.
As long as we got the 4 top teams, and me and you may disagree on who those are, but we're not
going to 9
disagree.
going into the playoffs this year.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody knows.
What?
Was it Georgia?
I think it was Georgia.
Yeah, exactly. There was no argument. There was no argument out of Georgia that we should have been there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we had an opportunity to be there.
Yeah, don't lose 2 games.
Exactly. And our coaches decided that we didn't want to play JT Daniels against Florida. Yeah. So, there's consequences for those decisions, but yeah, it needs to be expanded to 8 games. I think that's the point where you can stop the argument about who should be included.
Yeah.
No matter how you do it.
So somebody brought up a point here, and I want to try to address it. Where's it at? Somebody asked about. So, what do you think Jim Chaney is sitting there at Tennessee thinking about right now?
He's thinking that he's going to be a head coach.
Yeah, he's thinking he's going to get the head coach job. So right now, if we look at the college football transfer portal right now, because somebody asked about Eric Gilbert. This is who's in the transfer portal right now. At the quarterback, we have Mackenzie Milton, Austin Kendall, Ryan Helinski, Jake Quinton Jackson, Garrett Guantanamo. Jake. All these guys are 4 and 5 stars, by the way. Jacob Sermon, Ethan Garbers, Chris Robinson, Nkosi Perry. It's crazy to see Nkosi Perry in there. That guy's a really talented quarterback. Bunch of other guys in here that are all 4 or 5 stars. Believe it or not, DeJuan Mathis is still he's pending an appeal to transfer to Troy.
Yeah. Well, Helinski's already picked his school, so he's off the transfer portal.
Yeah. Well, those are all, this is what they have listed here as to who was in it and who's transferring and all this other stuff.
Gotcha.
So, I'm looking for Eric Gilbert, and I don't see him in the transfer portal.
There's still no word on his decision, correct?
What's that?
There's still no word on where he's landing, right?
No.
It says LSU to question mark. Nobody knows where he's at. This guy's rated at a .9972, a .9972, and he doesn't know where he's going.
Yeah, he's the 4th highest rated player ever rated by the system, highest tight end ever. Yeah, I don't think he's going to be one of those guys that makes his decision late, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Because you got to. Yeah, exactly. He can pretty much go anywhere he wants to. So
there ain't a team in America that wouldn't start that man right now.
No.
Oh, of course not. Well, maybe Tennessee.
That dude be playing. That dude. I've seen him play. He played up here in Marietta. That dude is built and was talented enough, in my opinion, to be on an NFL roster right now.
Oh yeah, he's absolutely incredible.
That dude is insane.
He'd look good next to Pickens.
Yes, he would.
He would look good next to Pickens, Washington,
Burton.
A lot of those guys. Fitzpatrick. Yeah, that would be interesting.
Yeah.
Let's see. Chaney don't want a head coaching gig. Of course, he don't. Heard Eric Gilbert isn't going to pick until summer.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
Which may be true. He just may be sitting around to see what's going to happen with the season before he makes a decision. And honestly, what he's doing is probably smart. He's probably going to sit back and see what happens with the coaching staffs before spring practice starts, and that way he doesn't jump into a situation and a coach get fired, and then they have to deal with the transfer portal, appeals process. So that's actually smart. Hey, I just want you to know, Trenches, your boy Gregory is in the chat.
Who?
Your boy
Okay.
Gregory.
Good boy, Gregory.
Hey, guess what? I ain't got to lean up to read it either.
Eric is homesick, but he wants to go to Florida. No, he don't. He don't want to go to Florida.
I don't know. I can't believe that he wants to go to Florida, and then also out my other ear, hear all the crap that's going on in Florida with Mullins and wanting to go to the NFL. All of that can't be true, essentially.
Well, if he doesn't go to Georgia, is there another SEC team that actually has a shot to get him?
I mean, I'm not sure. I've heard the rumors that he is interested in Florida, but
really?
I've definitely heard that too. They talked
Well,
about.
I mean, if you think about it, it's really there with Kyle Pitts. Didn't Kyle Pitts go pro?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that would be the role he would be filling.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, it's not bad. I mean,
having a quarterback like Emory throw to you, that sounds awesome.
Hey. I would love to see him come to Georgia. I'm not holding my breath on that one.
I'm not either.
I don't know. Did we lose Brett?
What's that?
No, your picture.
He's frozen. There we go.
I think he just refreshed everybody. So let me run through the chat here real quick. Heard Eric Gilbert isn't going to pick till summer. Yep. Alex MLD said Eric is homesick but wants to go to Florida. Joel Dutch, how you doing, sir? According to 247, Perry pardoned his transfer and he's staying at Miami. Okay. That would be interesting. I think I see Perry. Let's see. Here, Riley is pulling for Eric Gilbert. Just hired a tight end coach from Ole Miss today. Here, I guess he says he's heard that Riley is pulling for Eric Gilbert.
Yeah, Lincoln Riley, I guess.
I guess maybe, but we'll see what happens.
I'm sure everybody is calling Eric Gilbert.
That guy's phone's ringing off the hook. He's waiting to see how many McDonald's bags he can get from Tennessee before he commits.
He's got the whole toy collection for the summer.
I'm just gonna sit back, collect these, collect this
these Beanie Babies
nugget. So what do we think about? We've kind of touched on this a little bit. Does Mustchamp go to UGA? I've seen a lot of blood in the water that this is possible. Do you think that they would hire Mustchamp to be a defensive backs coach?
I don't see why you wouldn't.
Yeah.
The question is, will he take it?
Oh yeah, he'll take it. He'll take it in a heartbeat.
As a DB over a DC?
Oh yeah.
Well, he'd be the DC in waiting for sure because Lanning's not going to stay around long.
No,
he won't be forever.
There's already been people contacting him this year. You know?
Well, he's turned it down. He turned down what was the transfer to Texas?
I can't remember. Yeah, I think
he turned out Texas. Turned out Texas to stay at Georgia.
Yeah.
The big problem is that he's a young coach who appears to be kind of out over his skis right now. And so if Mustchamp comes in as the DB's coach, then that gives Dan Lanning the opportunity to transfer next year with more experience, having learned under both Kirby Smart and Mustchamp. Then Mustchamp become the DC for Georgia. That would be my prediction for the way that would go, because it just makes sense.
Sounds great to me.
I mean, I'm perfectly okay with Mustchamp as a defensive coordinator at Georgia. I think he does a pretty good job. I may eat those words later, but
I think he's historically been a great defensive mind. I mean, he was, in my opinion, I think he was a great defensive mind in South Carolina. I mean, he single-handedly put together a game plan that beat us.
Yeah.
That was him.
Yeah.
He was the first team that attacked us the way he did last year with, daring our quote unquote young receivers to beat his defensive backs. He put them all in man coverage and stacked the box, and he did that every play. Yep. And we couldn't Fromm couldn't hit a wide receiver, couldn't get anybody open. And from that game on, every team did that to us the rest of the season.
Yep.
And that was a Mustchamp. I mean, it wasn't a groundbreaking thing, but I mean, he trusted it every play. He was man to man on our receivers, and we couldn't do anything about it. And our offense went to crap after that because every team saw that tape and did it. So, my only reservation about having him as defensive coordinator is they're best friends. What happens when it don't work out? Is he going to be able to pull the plug? I mean, will he stick around another year or two?
Right.
Longer than he would anyone else. I mean, I don't know. These guys are buddies.
So let me point out a few things here. Now they did have some bad games throughout the year. Don't get me wrong, but we're talking about a defense that was able to hold Florida to 38 points. They did hold Texas A&M to 48, and you say 48 points, dude. Texas A&M was incredible. I think that their team kind of checked out after that, but I think they did a good job in that game. I think that they needed a lot more than what they got as far as talent goes to be able to put up a real defense. But I think if he had a real defense to manage, like what Georgia has, I think he could be phenomenal. If you look at, let's see here. Let's see. They not last year, but the year before last, they had some really good stops. They held Georgia to 17 points. They held that same Florida team last year to 38 points.
Yeah, I mean, I think they've done good on defense considering the caliber of guys they recruit out there. I mean, I don't think it's any Mustchamp. That's what he's been known for is good defenses. And I don't think that'd be any different in Georgia. I think we'd be fine, especially allowing him to coach some of these guys that we recruit. And then and again, I said something about being able to fire him. But ideally, what would happen with Mustchamp is he's here a couple of years and then he's going back to being a head coach, right? I mean, the whole point of putting him in DC would be to squeeze a little bit out of him, give him a chance to re-up on his reputation, get him head coaching somewhere else,
Yeah. Well, I mean,
all over again.
I mean, unfortunately, I feel like there's just about exactly 4, maybe 5 schools in all of the SEC that are what we're going to call cream of the crop. Real quick here, Samuel Spate said his grandfather passed away yesterday morning. Definitely feel your pain there, sir. My condolences. I know how that feels. What's up, Husker Gray? How you doing, sir? Hang on a second. So when you're talking about bringing in a head coach like Mustchamp to come in and do his job and then go on to become a head coach, golly, if you're in the East, you got to play Georgia every year. And if you're in the West, you got to play Alabama every year. So it's kind of pick your poison. I feel like South Carolina had a reputation for a long time for beating Georgia because Spurrier seemed to be able to do it quite solidly. And then after that, they really struggled. So that program wants to be able to beat Georgia and beat Clemson and be relevant, but they can't do it right now.
Well, those boys during Spurrier years, they pulled in some guys there, though, man. They had some talent. I mean, you had Marcus Lattimore come through there. What was it, Jadeveon Clowney?
Jadeveon.
I mean, he had some talent. I mean, Spurrier's name being tied to the program, kids sign up for that. So.
Oh, yeah. Well, Jadeveon Clowney single-handedly the most violent hit I have ever seen in all of college football.
That guy, right?
He's on every single highlight reel of hardest hits in college football. That guy, not only did he knock that guy's helmet off, he picked up the damn football and ran down the field with it. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't get any meaner than that.
No.
Now, I will tell you the only guy I've ever that I think could have taken a shot like that was Najee Harris, because they were Ohio State's DBs and linebackers were blowing him up, and it was like running into a brick wall, and he just step off and keep running. I would love to see a collision between, if time travel was possible, Jadeveon Clowney and Najee Harris. I feel like that would be, the unmovable object hits the unstoppable object.
I think Sean Stapleton just pointed. That was, to me, one of the impressive players they had was Deebo Samuel.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like I said, that those Steven Spurrier was there. I mean, they were definitely better teams talent wise, but they were probably also coached better.
Oh yeah.
I'm not gonna give it all to talent,
but I mean, Dan Lanning's doing a good job. Even if we get Mustchamp, like, to me, it really doesn't. I'm more worried about who our offense coordinator is with Kirby Smart as a head coach than I ever am of the DC.
Yeah, me too.
I feel like our defense will always be okay.
At the end of the day, Kirby could just take over the defense if we needed to.
Yeah.
Well, realistically, what we need Todd Monken to stay here pretty much indefinitely. But I can almost assure you that's not going to happen.
No.
So
not in today's game, man. These coordinators are like 1 or 2 and done, man.
Yeah, it's like
coaches in the transfer portal more than the kids.
Well, you look at what the Falcons are doing, right? They just announced. I mean, Arthur Smith is going to be the offensive coordinator. He's going to call the plays. He's the first time head coach, and he's going to be the offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Setting up that Tennessee style. Will be great.
When nothing says WTF like having one guy do everything.
Yep.
You essentially have unlimited amounts of money, and you can't hire 2 guys.
I agree with what Alex saying, though. I think Kirby has learned his lesson, and that we will go after an experienced and reputable offensive coordinator.
Oh yeah,
I think that's required in today's game. If you're a national title contender, you have to have a prolific offense.
Yes.
So.
I mean, it, and no matter how many times we talk about it, Kirby Smart is still relatively, young in the head coaching thing. He has made some mistakes, but there's no other head coach that you can name that has had the success he's had. Now, we as Georgia fans, we love to beat up on him because we want more than what we've gotten. But, we need to look around us a little bit and take note of what's going on around some of these other schools and be thankful for what we do have, because we're consistently recruiting in the top 3. We're consistently in the national championship contention talks, at least at the beginning of the season. 75% of 75% roughly of all the games we've played in with Kirby Smart as a head coach, we've been ranked in the top 10. So you can't say the team hasn't been relevant. Tennessee won't be ranked in the top 10 most likely for the next 2 or 3 years. South Carolina, same thing. Auburn, likely the same thing. Florida, probably going to be ranked in the top 10, but if they blow it out this year, I don't know when they're going to get back. Vanderbilt, forget about it. LSU, forget about it. I mean, right now you're essentially talking the I don't even know that I could do 4. Alabama, Georgia, Texas A&M. What's the next elite team in the SEC?
I'd say LSU, but I wouldn't say elite. I'd say they're probably the next best.
Right. So you'd have to say maybe Florida would come in after the number 4 Texas A&M, right? And then what? Nobody knows. Alex MLD, appreciate the super chat, sir. He says, does UGA get elite QBs from now on? Yes.
I don't know if you can say from now on, right? I mean, we've been doing it for a while. It's just we haven't been able to keep them. Jacob Eason was a 5-star. Mark Vandergrift's a 5-star.
But
Fields was a 5-star.
Super bust.
So it's like, I think we've been getting them. But to address what you're saying, I think that goes along with our shift towards recruiting receivers, right? I mean. Yeah. Getting Pickens to flip and come to Georgia and Jermaine Burton, those guys will make it much easier to recruit quarterbacks. And then it's a perpetual thing after that, right? You get an offensive coordinator in there, you average 35 points a game, and, people offensively, and you recruit offensive talent, they're going to want to come play.
Yep.
Yeah, I think we've had elite quarterbacks. We just haven't had elite coaching.
Yep.
That's a fact. Well, and when you got to consider that, today's day and age, the coaching carousel gets ridden more than it has ever, right?
I don't think Justin Fields a bust. I think he meant it at Georgia.
Yeah, at Georgia, man, at Georgia.
Justin Fields is definitely not a bust.
No, Justin Fields is an outstanding talent. Don't get me wrong, but what I'm saying is that we couldn't keep him. We couldn't do anything with him. That's a bust, as far as I'm concerned. It's the same thing. It's the same thing as getting a 5-star player and finding out that he's terrible, as it is to getting a 5-star player and he leaves your campus. Both are equally useless to the betterment of the team. So that's what I mean. Any quarterback that can throw for 400 yards in a game in a Power 5 conference is not a bad player. Sorry, he's just not. Looking at the coaching carousel as it goes now around nowadays, there's a lot more coaches that are being put on the hot seat a lot quicker. Schools seem to be a lot quicker to hit these buyouts to get rid of a coach. So, unfortunately, I think what is going to happen as a natural course of evolution here, the buyouts are going to get larger and larger to make these schools keep these coaches for more than 2 years. These coaches don't want to move every 2 years. A lot of these coaches have wives and kids. They don't want to move all over the damn country. The money is so good, though, they can't help it. Somebody told me right now, Brett, we'll pay you $5 million to go coach 1 year at Oregon. I'm leaving all here, and I'll buy new stuff when I get there. I'm gone.
You can give me 20 grand, and I'll go coach for Vandy.
I'm taking my kids, and I'm taking my wife and some pictures, and F the rest.
Yep.
Sell it as is, right? So when you got coaches out there that's what they're presented with, and they say, okay, well, you've got to win 8 games a season, or we're going to fire you. Okay, well, if you're going to fire me, you want to hire me this bad that you're going to pay me millions of dollars, then you've got to give me a buyout of $50 million. And while people say $50 million is ridiculous, well, that's about what they had for Gus Malzahn. And it worked exactly like it was supposed to. It forced Auburn to keep him longer than what they were comfortable keeping him before they could pay him out.
That's why the buyouts for like the new Jim Harbaugh deal, that's what should be done from now on.
What's that?
To where every year your buyout goes down tremendously. So like his extension actually saves Michigan a ton of money in the long run when it comes to buying him out. I think that's going to be the new format from here on out for coaches that are kind of teetering.
And his thing is full of incentives too, right? So So if he does do, meet certain milestones, he makes a lot more money.
Right. I'm gonna tell you right now, dude. If anybody ever hired me for a coaching job and wanted to pay me, I don't know, $10 million or whatever the average is now. I'm sure it's not 10. Let's just say it's 10 million. I swear before the Lord and Jesus, I would buy every ticket for that stadium and give away just one time. I would buy every ticket in the stadium and give them all away for free. Because they would talk about you the rest of your life. You might not never win another game. But they would say, you remember that head coach who gave us some free tickets, man? He bought out the whole stadium. You could put your stamp on history right there.
Well, your first 4,000 tickets better go to your subs, man.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, yeah, of course.
Dennis Bryant says, can Tennessee ever rebound from the dust? Yeah, I think Tennessee is a good coaching hire. They've the same way they've been. Just a good coaching hire away from being relevant. I mean, you just got to get somebody in there that's going to spend the time that's needed to turn it around. I mean, you can't hire Jeremy Pruitt to do that. I don't know what the hell they were thinking. I mean, that was whatever. That was dumb.
I'll tell you why they hired Jeremy Pruitt. At that point, it was any port in a storm, right?
It's worse now.
It is worse now. It is
right now, if you're a 10-win plus high school coach, now is your chance to get into the SEC.
Yeah.
And just start calling them volunteers as much as you can.
So here's what I want to point out to you guys, right? I think
you got to get a clean coach. That's what they need. They need somebody with no baggage, nobody. clean coach, up and coming, or a big splash hire that has no baggage.
Right. Well, I think that Tennessee has some things going for it. Number one, they got a pretty good basketball team. Number two, they got a pretty good baseball team. Right, not an elite, but pretty good baseball team. I think that that's enough to help the program, the basketball team, because there are football players that are multiple talent athletes. They play more than one sport. So you can pull in some better talent because of that. They need a big name. They need somebody who's if Scott Frost from UFC would have went, instead of going back to Nebraska and destroying his career, if he would have went to Tennessee, he probably would have done a lot better off, right?
Hey, watch out for Tom Herman.
Yeah. Tom Herman's good too. Coastal Carolina head coach, what was his name? Chadwell, Jamie Chadwell. I think that was Coastal Carolina's coach. He could do a good job. The Cincinnati Bearcats coach could do a good job. I mean, honestly, there's a ton of coaches out there that could take that job, but I personally think that right now, Tennessee has put itself in a position where they're going to have to take a lesser coach and hope he can drag them out of the fire a little bit enough to get another coach, a better coach, to take that job. Because right now, it's taking the head coaching job at Tennessee is a lot like Georgia playing App State in a conference in a bowl game. Right? It's a lose-lose.
Yeah.
Because if you do well, okay, well you were supposed to do well, but if you do bad, it's really bad.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, with the talent level you've got, even though you're buying players with Happy Meal bags, you're still not where you need to be talent-wise to be competitive. Somebody said Tom Herman got some skeletons in that closet, though.
Does he? I don't know. I hadn't heard anything about that. I know, like, you know, they need to stay away from like Hugh Freeze, people like that. So.
Let's see.
It's going to be interesting to watch what goes on at Tennessee, though, because they do got a decision to make. Do they hire an up and coming guy, or do they make a splash hire? You know,
Right.
Because I mean, Tennessee has, you know, as far as recruiting their state and recruiting around them, I mean, they could do well. You know what I mean? They could do well. They just got to keep, you know, the Georgias and the Clemsons and stuff like that from poaching in there and taking their guys, you know.
Well, one of the problems you got to look at right now at Tennessee is that you got to have a coach who has like you said, a clean reputation. And Hugh Freeze from Liberty is not the solution for that problem. Right? Hugh Freeze has got a history of having problems with the NCAA. Yeah, exactly. So you don't want that guy there because the NCAA is going to camp out on your front freaking porch. And I'm going to tell you like this. I don't care how clean you think your program is. The NCAA shows up, they're going to find something.
Yeah.
They're going to find something. Ask Ole Miss. They still live down there. Billy Napier at Louisiana, I think he's, you know, he did good with the Raging Cajuns this past season with 10-1. He's from Tennessee. If they could get him to take the job, I think that would be pretty good. Jamie Chadwell at Coastal Carolina, he won 11-1. That might be a good pitch for him. They do not need Gus Miles on. Tom Herman.
Hey, watch out for Gus Miles on. I think that I would not be surprised, honestly.
I don't think Gus Malzahn wants that job right now.
Well, let me ask you this: Did Alabama end up getting Doug Marrone?
I don't know. Did they?
I don't know. If not, because I know they were looking at him for offensive line coach. If not, be a good fit for at Tennessee.
Yeah, like I'm saying, I just think they need somebody in there that can just quiet the storm a little bit, and you know, you got to get the culture fixed there a little bit, and hopefully have a athletic department that's not going to expect you to come in and, you know, and win 10 games right off the rip. You know, they need to calm the storm there, because what did they have? They had like 5 coaches in the past 12 years or something like that there.
Something crazy.
It's crazy. So they need some stability, even if it means going, you know, having losing seasons for a couple of 3 years or so. They need some stability at the head coach.
Here's the great thing. I honestly believe that even with only having an average recruiting ranking of like, I want to say like, in the 20s or whatever it is, the teens every year, I still feel like Tennessee has enough talent that they should be able to dominate most of the teams in the SEC East. They should beat Vandy. They should beat South Carolina. They should beat Kentucky every year. They should every now and then beat Florida in an off year. I mean, they should be able to do those things relatively easily. Then if they're playing an Arkansas from the West, they should be able to pick that game up plus beat their cupcakes. They should still be a team that's winning 6 or 7 games a season with the talent they have right now. But bad coaching on the offensive side of the ball, playing Garantano whenever clearly they had better quarterbacks behind him, or they should have been developing those other quarterbacks, it has hindered that program tremendously.
Hey, man, you get what you pay for.
Apparently, sometimes you get a lot less. That's the problem with paying these players too much money. They just too comfortable, man. They just feel like they ain't got to do nothing no more, man. They're paying too much. Let's see. Michael Hogue says, how are you doing tonight, Brett? And how is your little princess doing? She's doing great. Mama spends all her time snuggling with that baby. So I get to look at her every now and then. That's about it. All right. So what was the other thing here I wanted to go over? There was one more. They haven't hired Doug Marrone yet, by the way. I just pulled that up and checked. But so let's address the elephant in the room, pun intended. Where and when does Nick Saban draw the line? When does Nick Saban finally say, enough is enough, I'm done? Because apparently a broken hip and the COVID is not enough to do the man in.
I thought it was going to be this year, but I highly doubt it. I don't think he's going to be done until he's got 14 rings. I have no idea anymore.
I don't know.
He's going to be Bobby Bowden, right? I mean, he's going to be walking down the sideline, not really just being an icon in Alabama.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you that Georgia was the team that put Bear Bryant away.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. I think it's going to be finally losing to somebody like like a national championship game loss or a playoff loss. That's going to do him in. I don't think winning the national title. He doesn't seem like one of those guys that's going to go out on top,
Right. Well, I think that, and this is just my opinion, I think that he might have a deal with himself. And I think that deal is the moment I lose to one of my previous assistants, I'm done. Because so far, nobody's been able to do it. So I don't know if the man struck a deal with the devil or what. But I will tell you, I honestly believe some of those receivers have sold their soul to the devil. Because you can't make them catches if you're from this place. There ain't no way. Those are some out of this world catches, man.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I think that this year coming up, Georgia has a legitimate chance to not just beat Alabama, but possibly dominate Alabama. I know Alabama.
Do you think Alabama will run the West?
What's that?
Do you think we'll get a chance to see Alabama? You think Alabama's going to run the West next year?
I think so.
I think so. I think the only one that's going to give them a hurdle is going to be Texas A&M.
Yeah.
That's the only one. I think Ole Miss, if Ole Miss can put together a solid offense, they might upset them. But I think that's not one I would count on. But I would be very – I mean, honestly, Ole Miss is the one who's given them the biggest run for their money, honestly.
Mm-hmm. That was the team that actually worried me for next year for Bama.
Yeah.
Is Lane Kiffin's offense.
That game was a straight-up track meet. But, I mean, at that point – I mean, not only did Alabama lose a ton of talent, I thought I saw something crazy, like they're losing 21 players or something crazy. And like 11 of them are starters or something. But they're also losing Steve Sarkisian.
Yeah.
And that's a huge, huge piece of that pie. So if you ask me, at McDonald's dollar menu.
Good God, that's been on for like 20 minutes, man.
Hey, I didn't say I was observant, man. I never said
okay,
that.
I got you.
They don't pay me much here to pay attention, so
I got you.
I think that if you've got Steve Sarkisian who's gone, Georgia's already pilfered Scott Cochran. I mean, there's only so much talent that you can keep bringing in and keep that train going. They had a dominant year this year with one of the best recruiting classes that Alabama's ever had. How do you compare to that? So, losing coaches, losing players, People say what they want to about it. It's not a rebuild year. It's a reload year. I'm going to tell you right now, this is a rebuild year for Alabama. Now, they may be more dominant than most in a rebuild year, but it's still a rebuild year for Alabama. You got a relatively untested quarterback. You're losing your best receivers. I mean,
your OC's gone.
Your OC's gone. It just is. It just is. So,
that being said, they'll still be in the playoff.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you got to believe. No matter what happens,
Until I don't see
14 players on that team. Saban expects you to not miss a beat.
Yeah, he'll have them ready. He's already working right now.
Ben Honest says, "What are you on?" And he says, "Do you think Saban died, and do you think Kirby learned how to coach?" I think Kirby's actually done a really good job at coaching and recruiting. There's no other new head coach. There's really no other head coach, period, other than other than Dabo and Nick Saban that has done the things that Kirby Smart has done. So no, I feel like Georgia's key missing ingredient was the quarterback problem, and that appears to have been solved. So
yeah. All right. Well, Brett, I got to bounce out, man.
All right, man. We'll bounce out then. I'm about to go to bed myself.
Hey, man.
I done got all these Bama fans fired up for tonight. They're gonna be up all night cussing me out. I'm finna go to bed and sleep like a baby. I love y'all anyway, though. You Bama fans, I love y'all.
Just like Pruitt and the McRib, we're out.
All right, guys. So y'all have a good night. I appreciate y'all being on.
Buddy.
All right, guys. That's it for me. You guys have a great day. Oh, by the way, I made some music here. I'm going to you stay on after the show, or I'll have to call him. You guys have a great day. God bless. Go Dogs.